President Trump's critics were swarming after his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Never Trump Republicans and so-called journalists sang from the same sheet of music in blasting Trump's performance. But Senator Rand Paul stepped up and dropped the hammer on Trump's critics, and now they don't know what hit them. The media's reaction to Trump's conference was unhinged. Before Trump met with Putin, establishment Republicans, Democrats and journalists blasted Trump for agreeing to meet with him. Senator Rand Paul knocked this nonsense and outlined how President Trump's conference empowered him to conduct a shuttle diplomacy with Russia. The Kentucky senator also praised President Trump for rejecting the establishment consensus on foreign policy that left the world on fire at the end of Barack Obama's 2 terms in office. Politico reports. Sen. Rand Paul, Archie, whose non-interventionist streak has long put him at odds with GOP foreign policy orthodoxy, plans to travel to Russia in early August to play shuttle diplomacy for Trump. In an interview on Monday, Paul said he hopes to meet with Trump before he heads overseas to see if there's anything he wants US to follow up on. It's gotten so ridiculous that someone has to stand up and say we should try to engage even our adversaries and open up our lines of communication, Paul said. We're going to talk to the president about some small steps in order to try to thaw the relations between our countries, but that was nothing compared to what happened after the meeting. John McCain smeared Trump as disgraceful. Rhino Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted his disapproval. Missed opportunity by President Trump to firmly hold Russia accountable for 2016 meddling and deliver a strong warning regarding future elections. This answer by President Trump will be seen by Russia as a sign of weakness and create far more problems than it solves. And Never Trump lunatic Ben Sasse continued his pattern of sliming the president at every opportunity. Sasse released a statement that read, U.S. Senator Ben Sasse issued the following statement regarding the president's statement that he holds both countries responsible for the deteriorated relationship between the United States and Russia. This is bizarre and flat out wrong. The United States is not to blame. America wants a good relationship with the Russian people, but Vladimir Putin and his thugs are responsible for Soviet-style aggression. When the president plays these moral equivalence games, he gives Putin a propaganda win he desperately needs. Paul swatted away these critics by pointing out they are suffering from severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome. Politico reports. But Paul chalks that up to Trump derangement syndrome. He believes his trip, planned in concert with the libertarian-leaning Cato Institute, will allow the United States to eventually make inroads with Russia in the ongoing civil war in Syria, denuclearizing North Korea and getting Russian troops out of Ukraine. Republicans that are making the criticism are either the pro-war Republicans like McCain and Graham or the anti-Trump ones like Sasse, Paul said. They are motivated by their persistent and consistent dislike of the president. President Trump tweeted out a comment Senator Paul made in a TV interview where the Kentucky senator cut to the heart of the matter. Thank you at Rand Paul. The president has gone through a year and a half of totally partisan investigations. What's he supposed to think? Paul had pointed out that Trump has been subject to 2 years of partisan investigations, including the Mueller probe, where the only goal is to destroy his presidency and drive him from office. So when Trump is questioned about election meddling, the president is correct to perceive the inquiry as being made in bad faith. The reporters asking the questions have only one intention, and that is to get Trump to admit on the record that the Russians rigged the election and that Hillary Clinton is the rightful president of the United States. Trump saw this trap for what it was and sidestepped it. The real scandal here is that Rand Paul was the only Republican who stepped up to the plate and defended the president. Do you agree?